What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio with my Dayquil-induced sexy Phoebe from Friends sick voice, coming to you today with a very exciting guest, Mr. Nick Pitarra. How you doing today, Nick?
James, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you succumbing to my request to Dayquil yourself out. I need to neuter you a bit to bring the machismo.
I'm Dayquil'd out of my mind right now. No guarantees, man. I did a live stream the other night and I had everybody cracking up on there. It's like, guys, no guarantees. I'm on the Dayquil.
A little loopy. I like it. I dig it. I'm on an all-nighter. I got a nap before we popped on, but so yeah, we'll have a fun chat.
You, I'm assuming by that you're a stereotypical creative night owl like myself.
Yeah, I used to be from 17 when I first found comics until probably 38. I pulled an all-nighter at least once a week. And I don't say all-nighter like I'm up till 4 or I see the sun and go to bed. All-nighter like I sleep five nights in 7 days kind of thing. Wow. And it used to be my longest was 3 days straight. That's when you get really delirious, you know?
I bet.
And you unproductive too. You should just go to sleep. But once I had kids, I had to stop and get on a schedule. Then when they got in school a year ago, that really fixed things because I had to get up, you know, and then that got me up and it kept me on a better schedule. But right now I'm on a pretty cool project I can't talk about, but it's killing me. So back to the old ways right now.
Does the body adapt to the old ways the way it used to? Are you finding your equilibrium, or is it a little tougher? I know we were talking a little bit, you know, prior about being over 40 and how things change a little bit. Are you noticing it impacts you a little more, harder to recover from, or are you still feeling dialed in?
I'm drawing with my buddy Chris Mooneyham, who's also a slow artist, you know, and he's good, but we're both kind of slow. And there's something I romanticize about destroying ourselves for comedy. You know? Like it's me and the pen and the Bristol board, and we're gonna see the sun come up, and we ain't going to bed right away. We're gonna plow forward. We're gonna see the progress we get done. I love that moment when you're like so into it, you get up and take a leak or go get a coffee and you come back and it's like, whoa, I did that, you know?
Yeah.
And that it's always cooler to me at that point. That's when you're in like that, like romanticize later, like the next day, but what was I doing? This is cool. No, but there is something, man, it reminds me of trying to break in. It reminds me, especially with the weather changing now and it's cold like that. Like I had a buddy, I didn't go to the Kubert school, but I had a buddy who went to the Kubert school. And I'd go visit him in Dover, New Jersey.
Yeah.
It was cold and it reminds me of like grinding and trying to break in. So
that's
the weather
awesome.
changed down here in Texas. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking with some of the artists on here before about those old studio days. And you hear those stories about, grinding in the studio together and learning from each other. Kind of sounds like you're maybe doing a little bit of a digital version of that, hanging out with your buddy. Are you guys doing that via like Skype or something? Or do you...
Well, we're on Zoom. I think Skype went out of business recently.
Oh, that's right.
So I'm paying for Zoom, but man,
I'm showing my age saying Skype.
No, we use
it became Zoom, it became Zoom during the pandemic. Skype, I used to hang out with Ryan Stegman back in the day, and we would get on Skype and draw, before he had broke in and everything. So yeah, Skype is what I think of when it's like drawing with your buddies that are in a different part of the country or a different part of the States.
The same with me. Stegman was in, we called our core group. Stegman was in with me, Tommy Patterson, sometimes Riley Rossmo, we had a bunch of dudes, Jay Leaston. We
Nice.
would get on and we would Skype for 8 hours a day, and we would just be so crude and rude to each other. We would try to run each other off. Well, the meanest critiques.
Stegman is good at that. Stegman can give it as well as take it with that stuff.
Stegman's good. He was one of the top ones. I wouldn't say he was top, but he was top.
That's awesome. Yeah, the studio days, I think that was something, there was some magic to that. You always hear about the Wildstorm offices and Top Cow and everything, and you got, kind of Silvestri and Jim Lee walking around and looking over your shoulder and giving critiques and everything. And, Ryan Benjamin was telling me about having Jim Lee come out and like tear him apart, tear his work apart and give him examples and everything. Like, I bet there's something to that, just being in the fire like that in a studio setting and kind of learning on the job, right?
But yeah, that would be the dream. It was the Wildstorm Talent Search in 2006, I think it was. And it was hosted at the Wizard World conventions. And I ended up, you had to go to either Wizard World Philly or Wizard World LA at the time to enter. And then they would pick a finalist or pick a winner from each con. I ended up going to Wizard World LA with my portfolio, and I was one of the guys they picked. I got to get on, but the winner got to go to La Jolla and work in Wildstorm Studio. I was like, man, I want to do that so bad.
That would be awesome.
I was not the winner, by the
way. Well, let's take it back to the days a little bit of breaking in and kind of that process for you. It sounds like you got into comics around the age of 17, you were saying?
Yeah, it was all, I wasn't drawing or anything in high school. And I had enough back then. You need like 22 credits to graduate instead of 24. I was in pretty good. I wasn't a great student, but I was a pretty good student. Like, so I was in some honors classes, K level, whatever they're called down in Texas. And I realized I had enough credits to graduate halfway through my senior year. I was like, I don't have to do anything anymore. And so I decided going to class. I would show up late. So I got removed from all of my honor level classes because I had zeros into whatever fit my schedule. And it was honestly the best thing that ever happened to me. It changed the course of my life because I got moved from, hard English class to remedial reading was the other thing in my schedule. And just so, and he's my buddy. So I guess my buddy couldn't read, was in that class, and he was going to the Kubert school. So I get stuck in this class, and the kid next to me is drawing out of his head. His name's Isaac Martis, and he's going to this place called the Kubert school. And I thought it was magic.
For sure.
What? And all my family are construction workers. They're all electricians, plumbers, elevator men, that kind of stuff. That's the kind of work I did in the summers. Working with my buddy, my dad's buddies, side shops and stuff. I just figured I was going to do that. And I was like, man, this is cool. And I started asking him how he did it. And that was like, started picking up books and blah, blah, blah. And we went to the comic book shop on Wednesdays. He would drive his car to Bedrock City Comics in Houston. And when we got there, he loved Jim Lee, he loved the Kubert boys. He loved those 90s guys. And when I picked up that look, it never connected with me, ever. It was like romanticized and beautiful, and it looked cool. But when I read the comics, am I supposed to be reading this? Is this happening? I didn't feel it. Picked up a copy of The Authority. There was
there you go.
novel of Jack Hawksmoor, gritty, beaten up. I didn't know who it was, but I was like, I'd like that, picked it up and I started reading it, and it was awesome. It was like, Midnighter was gay Batman, gay Apollo, gay Superman. They're killing people. I never read Watchmen or nothing, but I was like, what comic books? People are, kicking people's heads off. And when it was crazy. And I quickly realized it was the nuance that then Frank Quietly drew with. Like when someone would be mad, he'd slowly turn his head. And, I'm a big guy and I used to lift, and you're clearly a big dude. Those guys are thick. They were more weight and mass than they are lean muscle. And so, but his superheroes looked that way, and that looked real to me. And then I'm realizing I'm turning the page. I want to see what is happening next because he's carrying me with the timing and the figure work.
Yeah,
So
his way of conveying movement,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like second to none.
yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, some people say he's on that Moebius tree. He's one of the few guys that said, "Okay, Moebius." I don't know how to cut that tick off. I told my wife to. I'm on my wife's
It's
lab.
all good.
We'll have a couple dings, but not many people, approach the Moebius tree. Geof Darrow quietly, Seth Fisher was going after it. It's a tough tree to follow. You can still the aesthetic, but to actually do the timing, the
Yeah.
infinite perspectives, the cartooning, Vin is really good. I say he's better at some things than Moebius, which is, sacrilegious. Moebius is
Right.
a fan, but there's some timing and some exactness that Vin's got that I don't think is replicatable. Like he's 101 when it comes to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to me. So it sounds like you got into art a little late as far as, a lot of the people I talk to, they're like, yeah, since I was like 2, I was drawing on the walls with crayons and this and that. But you kind of discovered it, when you were a teenager and everything and got drawn into this world. And also interesting that you're not like the stereotypical, like, oh, I love Jim Lee's stuff as soon as I saw it, and that was my idol and everything. You were drawn towards this grittier, very unique style set. So when I saw your work, I immediately could see the influences right away. So it's not a surprise to me that that's what you were drawn to. I could see a lot of Quietly and Moebius in your work, and I know Geof Darrow is another one that you really like as well. So were those all was that the direction you kept trending in as far as the artists that you were looking at?
Yeah, the European guys, Geof Darrow was awesome. There's a guy, Seth Fisher, that I thought was mind blowing. He passed away. He was about 31, I think, but he did clean line style with charm. You could see that this guy was funny in the way he drew. And I wanted to bring that into my stuff. And when I first started out, I didn't know any of these guys. I thought Quietly was it. Then I found Moebius and Darrow, and then eventually Seth Fisher. And I think there's a mix of all those. I love Arthur Adams too. I love Mike Allred. I've always been attracted to the indie guys. I think in comics you get craft, and if you're all craft, it'll look beautiful, but it'll be dead. Or you can have voice, and my kids can draw with voice, just them, not looking at anything. But if they do a sequential in that voice, the second I read it and it's stick figures, I'm following it, I believe. But the second they draw realistic, Matrix breaks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you can actually tell a story perfectly fine in any kind of voice, but it's when voice meets craft and this voice starts being sharpened and refined into something perfect, like an Arthur Adams or Quietly or a Darrow, where it's no longer talent, it's talent and skill combined. That's the pinnacle for me. So when I see new guys like Trad Moore, who came out years ago.
Yeah, Trad's the Luther Strode stuff.
Yeah, the Luther Strode side. So for me, that pinnacle was the third trade. You could see it raw, a little oddly, a little angular. And by the third trade, he was like Brian Boland meets manga meets Otley. And and then after that, he just said, I'm shattering this and going crazier. There's that's so distinct when you see it. I thought he was going to be big. I was one of the first guys. I was the first guy with Felix Comic Art. I would see these guys in Artist Alley and be like, you got this guy, Felix, look at this guy.
Yeah.
And I was like James Herron and all the, you could just see it, you could just see it. And it would never be a guy who was super realistic and polished. It would be a guy with all voice, but he's figuring the craft out. And when those two hit, that's to me, like I'm buying pages, I'm calling buddies about it. Because it's a vehicle, it's got all the skill and craft, but it's a vehicle that's unique wholly onto itself. Like the way Brad draws a moon or James Herron draws a moon. There's this guy, Matt Lesniewski, right now, and he draws crazy, but it's all crazy within their language and they're sharpening it. And I find that interesting. I feel like Art Adams sharpened all the way and he's still sharpening,
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I like these characters. I'm going to keep drawing them better. You can see Wobbly when he was young, and now they're just like, they're the way the X-Men should look exactly. That's why they pull them up and they sculpt them with toys, you know? So
Yeah, it's, there's certain constraints you put on yourself when you're trying to stick within the bounds of being realistic with everything too. And you see that a lot with artists, like when everything they're trying to make it too perfect. And then it's like you said, when these people find their voice and break outside the bounds, like really cool stuff can start to happen. I know, like me, I used to be that guy where all the artists I were into was the perfect anatomy and everything looks realistic. And then I started, getting into like you said, the James Herons, Daniel Warren Johnson. I grew a great appreciation for Jack Kirby's old stuff and the exaggeration with the perspective and the form and everything. So to me, it's got so much more life to it when you're able to do that.
Yeah. It's just encoded reality is what, like Moebius said, an artist encodes reality. And I do think we're walking around and looking at the world, but then it's got to flow through us and filter out our hands. I don't want a picture. I don't want a grayscale picture. I don't want a hatched. Hatching's cool if it's in that voice. There's a guy named Ian Laurie, and he's a Scottish artist. He draws he's an older guy, maybe 40s, but he draws like a demented child.
Okay.
Oh, like demented, like it
Yeah.
is. And he's taking these old DC covers and he's redrawn them with like Robin smoking a bent cigarette, Batman's belly's hanging out with hair. And it just feels like it fell out of a different dimension. Dude, his comics are creepy and weird just with the aesthetic language. It already has a tonal frequency that's hitting you. Versus if he was trying to draw realistic, me looking weird, it's just me. And it's just, it doesn't transmute you. It doesn't transport you into the realm of that world. And even if it's wrong, it's right because it's wrong in the same way throughout it, and there's something beautiful about that in comics. So.
Yeah, I think McFarlane hit on that back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when he emphasized the spider over the man part and had him contorted and broken poses and everything. But it was like there was something about it that drew a bunch of us in, and we're like, oh, the anatomy's not right, but this sure is cool.
I've always wanted to do a realistic story of a resetting hero that remembered his canon, but also if he remembered his canon, but also remembered the style of his world.
Oh, there
he looks
you go.
over his hot wife, but it's got the long leg.
Yeah.
One of her eyes is up here. It's got like 55 teeth. He turned over in bed and saw her. Then he like woke up from his nightmare. Or like if he was going to go do his action, but his body became, hardened to arm mechanics and not Todd.
Yeah.
He's running and jumping. But then now his arms are breaking. So I think that would be a hilarious.
I think there's something there, man.
I always wanted to, but I was like, I'd have to learn a lot of styles to do that.
Yeah.
Still trying to
do it. So we're talking about your early, beginnings in art and everything. So your friend was going to the Kubert school. You started getting into drawing and trying to learn the craft. So from there, what was your kind of journey into eventually breaking in? Did you decide at that point that was something you wanted to do? You wanted to get into comics, or did you focus on kind of developing your craft a little bit before you made that leap?
Yeah. So from 99, middle 99, 2000, when I started drawing, when I got moved into that class, and my buddy went to the Kubert school from 2000 to 2003, I would go visit him and like check in with him whenever he needed to move from one place to another. I would fly up there and then we would carpool back and forth together. We needed to bring his stuff down in the summers. And so I would see the progress of the other guys, and they would be like, there's the second year guy's getting 3 pages on a Dark Horse anthology.
Yeah.
And it's like the coolest thing, So I would know like where I needed to be at, and I wasn't there. So, but I would go back home and just draw all the time. I'd tell him, he'd send me the assignments and I would do them. And
Nice.
Then 2003, I went and lived up there for a semester before he graduated. And they were all burnt out, all the third year guys. So it wasn't like their sequential work. So I'd be up inking them and stuff. And then I just kept hitting conventions until I was 23, 24. I started getting some real traction. like someone offered me $50 a page to do a book, and I was like,
Yeah.
$50 a page. I'm gonna eat like a king,
Yeah.
Stay at my mom's house, live on a buddy sofa, which I did until I was like 30 years old, by the way. Couch surfed. Like drawing was like a jail cell. Like I always think like, put me in a room with a futon and a drafting table and an internet connection now.
Be content, man.
I loved it. I love it to this day. I love my studio time. It's so fun. It's hell and it's heaven at the same time. It's so fun. But I did that for years. And eventually I had to grow up, get married, have kids, get a house, a mortgage. So my big break was a thing called, first it was the Wizard World 2006 had a comic book, like Wildstorm talent search. And I was in the top 5 of that. We had to go home and work on some authority pages. And I was like, this is meant to be. I didn't win, but it was cool to be in the top 5, right? And then they did, on Comic Book Resources, they held a competition called Comic Book Idol 3. And it was just online, but you could see the portfolios dropped in. And there's like 211, I think there were. They were going to pick 10. As they dropped in and I put my stuff in, I had a very good feeling that I was going to get picked because no one was doing weird Moebius quietly.
Yeah.
But terrible, because everyone's kind of whopped. Like it just looked different. There'd be a lot of the craft guys, some guys with voice, but no one that was just completely idiosyncratic that had weird pages. And I had done enough pages where I had like 10 great ones. They weren't great, but it was like from 2000, 2003, if there was a small show or something, well, I'm taking 6 months to draw 2 pages,
Yeah.
After 6 years, you got 12 pages, I had 12, very terrible overworked pages. So I ended up getting selected as one of the contestants, and I competed against some guys that are still working today. Charles Paul Wilson, Jose Holder. There's a couple of guys that in that competition, about half of them made it, like at least. But I lost, and I was having to pencil and ink 3 or 4 pages a week. It'd be like 3 pages, but it was like guest judge was Ryan Otley. Guest judge was CB Sobolski. Guest judge they were like crazy. And if you won this competition, you got like a pinup in an image book. And it was but you were getting to kind of interact and get portfolio reviews from these guys.
For sure.
And I ended up getting voted off the island at like 5 or 4, but I had never worked so hard in my life. You talk about all-nighters, not sleeping. I was not sleeping 3-4 days a week. It was crazy. And I was waiting tables at the time, and I was paying other waiters to cover my shifts so I could just draw my ass off. And I felt good. When it was over, I was almost relieved. And I honestly could tell some guys were getting votes because they were like campaigning, hey, vote for me. Mm-hmm. This was like early internet, who had a Facebook with enough friends could win. But there were some guys that were professional already. And I wrote, when I saw one guy about to get voted off before me, I was like, man, vote me off. Cause this guy's, he's awesome, and it just didn't feel right. But anyway, got voted off, and I deserved to be voted off. And I walked, and it took a long walk to the comic shop and back. I felt good. I'd done my best. That's all you can do. Get back home, and I have an email from Marvel. Do you want to work?
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
Damn.
And what happened was Hickman was following the competition. He had just got something at Marvel for the first time off the nightly news. He had the foresight. He didn't want to use an old guy because it would be compared to the older guy's work. He wanted like a fresh voice. And he had like Seth Fisher, and he's like, you're doing that weird Seth Fisher thing. And so it was John Barber at Marvel. I got on the phone, called him, told him thank you. He's like, actually, it's this Hickman guy. Like, can I get his number? I'd like to call him. I was like, man, thank you, dude. You changed my life. Like, I've been working on this for 7 years, not sleeping. And he's like, oh, we're going to make great books together, man. Like, you're doing that Seth Fisher thing. Just be you. And I saw your pages. And I got voted off on an Invincible sequence. Invincible's flying. It opens Invincible's flying and having fun. He sees something on the ground. He flies down, stops it. saves the day. Well, when he's flying, what's having fun in the air? So I have he's flying with some ducks, right? But I put the ducks there strategically. So when he stops in the air, there's a visual reference point and a duck can hit him in the back, right? Explode. Then when he flies down, saves the day. At the end, he's holding a walrus for some reason. But I added a panel where he sticks his foot out and catches the duck from the first one.
There you go.
And dude, I got reamed for it. They're like, why are you adding a duck? Where is this coming from? I was like, dude, the assignment was have fun in the air. And that's the way I draw comics. I get the spirit of the thing and it turns into Marvel style, right?
Yeah.
Well, I try to honor what the writer wants. And anyway, that's how we worked on Manhattan Projects after that. It was Marvel style, and he thought the ducks were genius or very funny that it do this. And a lot of the judges were like, you didn't follow the assignment. I nailed the assignment. Don't you see? I had a visual reference point, but that's manic up all night drawing, convincing yourself adding a duck to your big break was going to do it. But it actually worked.
Personally, I would love it, man. I'm looking at some Invincible original art here on the other side of the monitor. Yeah, I love it. Anything Invincible, especially, carrying over that, because that's what Otley did with Invincible too. He was always doing crazy stuff like that. Yeah. And exaggerated features, exaggerated perspective, having fun. I think there's just so much to that. It brings so much more life to the characters and everything. So from there, the first published work was with Marvel?
Yeah, a couple of little 3-page things, weird stories for those guys that wanted to pay $50 a page at shows, but never big. The biggest sequence I ever did was 8 pages in a row in anthologies at Marvel for Marvel Tales Mojo World. That was my first real published work. And then Hickman, I was going to school to get my degree in art education, just in case the comic book thing didn't work out. I could fall back on that and, do the summers drawing or whatever. But so we were going to do Manhattan Projects. They had to reinvigorate the Epic line, but Hickman's sharp. They wanted some percent that Hickman did not want to give up any percent. He's like, Image has been pretty good to me. Let's go to Image. This was before Saga and the whole Renaissance boom. He's like, Manhattan Project is going to be bigger. I got this idea called Red Wing, which was fighter pilots, but they're time traveling. So if you shoot them down, they reverse back in time or whatever. Yeah. I was like, sounds weird. And he's like, let's test Image. And we did a mini series and Image gave us the cover of previews. It was the first time I ever drew a full issue of work, but I had to do 4 issues. It was a lot of work for me at the time. And then it sold really well. 20,000 copies for a miniseries at the time, which was really 15, but they printed 20 or something.
Yeah.
So then after that, we did Manhattan Projects, and then Saga launched a couple months later. And then, he did East to West and all that. And that was it. And we started, the first couple of scripts were complete on Manhattan Projects, but it quickly turned into Marvel style where he could tell me some stuff and I'm using my humor and my Italian hand talking for all the characters. Cool.
I loved it.
He's a plot guy and he thinks about the whole. And if you ever meet him, he's a very sweet guy, but he's reading the room more than in here. And he's in here, he's top rolling and he's pressing. He's not going bone to bone with you, He looks at the whole system where, he loves soccer. He was like a collegiate soccer star, Okay. So he's looking at he's the god looking at the stuff, plot. Versus me, I'm the pencil. I'm in there. I want to be face to face. And those two combined, my weird manic drawing and his we can plot this turn, issue 9, this. It just worked. It added smart science and scientists picking their asses. It was weird juxtaposition.
Yeah, it just meshed. It just meshed in the perfect way, man. It was such great stuff. One of the things that I love so much about doing this podcast is I discover, new work. So I'm fairly new to getting to your work. I had seen some stuff from Manhattan Projects in the past, but I didn't pick it up. And then recently when I had Felix on here, that episode hasn't dropped yet, but I had Felix on and then your name came up and he was saying a lot of good things about you, and I looked you up. Now I'm on this journey with you, and I'm going into all your old work and everything. And, I get on your Instagram and I discover you're a fellow arm wrestler, and I'm like, gotta reach out to this guy. He's a fellow artist and an arm wrestler. You speak the same language. There we go. Got some arm wrestling tools. Yeah, I have so many arm wrestling implements, man.
I got at least like $2,000 worth of cool devices.
It's crazy.
This one's
yep.
They got a 1-inch that's better. I mean, whose thumb is this big? You know what I mean?
Maybe mine.
Yeah, maybe yours.
Maybe mine. I don't know.
This is the only one you need though. PVC pipe.
Yep.
Make sure
multi-spinner.
The multi-spinner.
Yeah.
You make that yourself. I got to train with a Russian guy who's national champion. His name is Dmitry. Yeah. He came over. He's like in some technology, but they somehow got him here in Texas, and he's a beast, bro. Like, he took all the national champions in Texas and made us look like a little girl.
Yep.
No offense to little girls, but
yeah, those Russians, man,
they're crazy. But, man, I got to go to his house, and he was like, put 5 pounds of pressure, perfect form.
Yep.
And one of the guys that makes the handles, Mazurenko.
Yeah.
When I first got into it, not that I know your fan base is running off, but this is awesome.
No, they're not going to run off. They know a lot of times the conversation goes to jiu-jitsu or arm wrestling on here, because surprising amount of the artists do jiu-jitsu too. So you're the first one. I take that back. You're the second one that arm wrestles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had another guy, this guy, Brian Ballinger, on, who does a lot of cartoons and like children's books and stuff and 3D sculpts, and he's an arm wrestler. That's kind of how we met too.
Yeah, so Mazurenko said this, like, Americans, they go chest, since high school, chest,
yes, shoulders,
arms, and it's like 5, 10. And we almost never get the fingers or hands, Yep. If he said, if I got a new kid and was able to train him, it would be 100% on the fingers, thousands of reps, hundreds of reps, 50 to 100 reps. And he would build them from the tip back.
Yep.
And I have found, and I'm sure you have too, rock climbers, gymnasts, the guys that come to our group, they have it already because they're
always
or blue collar workers that are using pliers, and pronating and supinating. Those guys come in and they're built from the fingertips back, whereas coming from football, and I rep 325 times, useless in arm wrestling,
Yeah.
But whatever that is, that I want to get in there and like beat you, and I'm going to go lift by myself at night. That spirit can transfer.
Spirit's there, yeah.
But all the mechanics are broken for arm wrestling.
That's where I benefited, coming from 30 years of jiu-jitsu.
So you got all the gi.
Grabbing the gi, man. The hands are strong.
Or something, man, if you ever are lazy and don't do your laundry, but you got that favorite shirt, and if you go wring a shirt out.
Oh, yeah.
Do a sweater. Put it in the sink. Your forearms light up. You're burning. You're turning. That burn, it happens within a minute. And I'm like, by the time I'm done, I'm like, why did I do this? I should have just, you know what I mean? But,
well, I think we all, when we first get into arm wrestling, we buy every different training implement that exists, and then you narrow it down to like 2 by the time you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah, I like that cone. It's not a D-ring, but it hooks up to where the D-ring hooks up, but it's a cone. Yep. They have an interchangeable handle.
I have that, yep.
They've got some good ones there. Fingertip pressure is the best, but I don't know, man. Nothing beats just repetition. If you do another sport that engages the forearms and the flexors and the fingertips, you got such an advantage over a guy like me. But
well, we got to transition back to art now, so we get our listeners and viewers back. Maybe we get a few people interested in arm wrestling. That would be cool. But so get Manhattan Projects from there. From Manhattan Projects, is that straight to starting on your own personal project, or was there anything between Manhattan Projects and Mr. Ax-Wielder Jon?
Yeah, I did a bunch of probably 30 or 40 covers for Ninja Turtles and a bunch of publishers. None of them are as good as I am now. I did Leviathan. We got 3 issues done, 4 issues drawn. And then me and Layman had a little falling out for a minute. I always text him or tell him I'm going to get to it one day, but he's got to write the 5th script. And so we're in a stalemate.
Gotcha.
Eventually we'll get that. I tell him we'll get it done. I love the guy, but we just 2 cantankerous personalities, you know? So then I was like, when I had my kid got sick. She's okay now, but we were living in the NICU, Ronald McDonald House, waiting for her to get better. And I was like, man, I'm done. Like I wrote Image and said, hey, I'm not gonna be able to get this issue finished. I'm living at the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah.
And nobody at Image said, hey, are you okay? Are your kids are okay? They just said, oh, Leviathan's is canceled. I believe they use the word canceled, but on hold, maybe I was out of it, but whatever. And I don't know. I like having a chip on my shoulder. They're a busy company. Who cares about me? But I was like, man, I'm just going to do my own fucking thing. You know, I'm done. And I was like, I was living in I was in the NICU a lot. Me and my wife she'd sleep, I'd sleep, but we would stay with our daughter all day. So we would meet in the parking lot. Here's a coffee. She's dog tired. I'm dog tired. We'd meet, kiss for 2 months and go sit with our daughter. And I would bring a sketchbook and I would be tired and drawing. And one day I look down and I've drawn this barbarian. I don't want to spoil it, but he's got things crawling all over him. Yeah. And I did not connect what I was going through with the barbarian, but I was like, 4 days later, I was like, whoa, I was in the NICU and I drew this. I'm like, what is this story? And I had this feeling that was like, you've been calling yourself an artist, but you've been working with writers. What do you have to say? You've been through something now, real, not couch surfing, not chasing a dream. You've got that, but you're an artist. What do you have to say about this experience, about fatherhood, about the men in your lives? And I was like, my excuse to draw violence with heart. Yeah. Well, and I felt it in my bones, dude. I manically called friends. I wanted to get it out. I was telling people to get it out, but I wasn't working on it for 2 years. But I was working on the page turns and I got the whole thing written for 7 volumes. Like I loved the story. And I was like, everything else is on hold. I'll sell my truck. I will sell my art. I'm going to make this thing. And I had a conversation with me and God. I said, look, if this doesn't work, no big deal, but I'm going to do it. And if you want to help me, please help me. And I will take whatever comes in my path. So if something came up, I would be like, Zoop reached out. I'm too lazy to fulfill. This new company says they'll fulfill. I'm going to do it with Zoop. Old editor, Chris Stevens, he kind of burnt out in comics. He wrote and said, you ever need an editor, let me know. I said, well, all right, jump on the team. And I was going to do this. That's it. I did it and it worked out really well. So
sounds like things fell into place as they were intended to.
Yeah. I think
it's kind of cool. Yeah. I was very touched reading your words in there and talking about that experience and kind of looking down, and he was just looking up at you off the page, you're like, where'd this guy come from? And then just how it all evolved into this, and the pieces fell into place, and you were able to get a lot of feedback. Was it Hickman that gave you feedback on some of the story pieces and everything? He was the one that did the notes on there, right? Like, cause there's the making of section and.
Yeah. Hickman wasn't involved with the early stuff. This is actually advice for anyone crowdfunding. I'm also manipulative. My wife helped me. My buddy Spencer Clausen helped me. Chris Stevens helped me. My buddy Isaac Martis helped me. None of those people were going to help me sell it. So when I told Hickman, I'm going to do this. When I'm done laying this out and getting some pages in, I'm going to show you the full script. I'm mailing you the thing to mark up.
There you go.
I need that for extra material in the book. And it gives me some kind of stamp of approval of your beautiful name on it. And
Yes.
he followed the assignment. And I'll tell you this, a lot of people were sounding boards. Every one of Hickman's notes was a keeper. He didn't give me 100 notes. He gave me 7 home runs.
Yeah.
Like dead on. He can read the whole. He's like, Nick is manic. He loves this thing. I cannot kill him with a ton of notes. What's the best 7 to give him on this to really fix this? The only note I did not use, he was correct on, which was, he said, Nick, you love this thing. You're going to make this thing. All the other notes I gave you is this. The last note is, turn the blood blue. Change the cuss words to humorous gags. And he said, the YA market is going to explode. You should get into that instead. And you know what? I was like, nah, heavy metal. Look for me. Hickman, you're crazy. Dude, I talked to a buddy who does Amulet at Scholastic. Stuff is circulating through Scholastic. His name's Kazu. He does Amulet. He sold 14 million copies of that book.
Yeah.
He owned like multiple houses, and Hickman was so right, but I'm like, the thing with heavy metal is you can tell me great art. You can tell me weird ideas. What's the great heavy metal story? What's the great, that's getting thinner. That's getting a little thinner in competition. And I was like, I'm going to do adult He-Man. I'm going to do dad power fantasy times Geof Darrow, Lone Wolf and Cub meets Daddy Daycare. I mean, also a little bit. And it only existed as a comic. It could only be a comic. And I knew the story was mine, and I was like, I'm going to show you what I can do, the Instagram, teach me how to Dougie. You're like, I'm going to,
yeah.
And if you have something burning in you like that, you should get it out. But everything is storytelling. I knew I had to print it a little bigger, draw it bigger, get the Hickman stamp of approval. I knew I had to be humble and be like, I've got to learn how to write. I read 5 books on writing. My wife is a published author. I've got I don't know what I'm doing, but I know how I feel about this page turn. I know that spirit that I want to convey, that I'm trying to convey down, has got to reflect up out of the page to the reader. So when you get that page turn, how do I set you up mentally? He's a crazy man. And you're like, oh, this is a crazy, violent, and it flips the story, right? Well, how do I do that? I want you to feel that. And so I don't know if I did or not, but
you did.
It's working, it's working for some people. So,
and here's the downside about discovering an amazing artist, amazing creator late. I had to, go searching for that thing. I had to go scour the eBays and find a copy because it's pretty scarce. I don't think a lot of people are letting their copies of that go.
Yeah.
I did find a signed remarked one though, so I was happy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, super happy.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of working on that. Then I got a call from DC if I wanted to do this kind of dream project I've been wanting to do for years. And I can't announce it, so that's been on pause while I draw this other thing. The cool thing about
safe to say there's going to be more Ax-Wielder Jon stories to be told.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I just put down payment on, there's an artist, Matt Wisniewski. I just gave him a little down payment to make sure he doesn't get sniped up by anyone else. There's some side stories for characters that show up on the page. Like Jon's got this history now.
Yeah.
When you first see him, he's just a barbarian. I want that history I've got little side pocket worlds. When this cool villain shows up, he's just a villain. But if I show you that, he's got an ailing father or he's got something else, but that's not Jon's story,
Right.
So I want to do side character stuff that features Jon, but also like the history of this one mutant that showed up that just got decapitated. Like when you see him in book 2, what if you knew that he was robbing to help someone or,
exactly.
Not make it hurt, like I want you at the end of Jon 1 to be like, these bad guys are assholes, but I kind of like them, know? And this guy has a MacGuffin that he ain't going to stop And all of a sudden, I like both sides of what this showdown's going to be. And I don't even want to see the fight, but I can't look away. You know, if I can make you care about a squid man or a bludgeoned face man that's crazily talking to skulls and make you actually care, like, come on, like I can do anything, right?
Exactly.
It's a big trick. It's a big, like, I got to set it up with this line. The thing I love about my kids, even though I'm a big fat potato, when they look at me, I'm a god.
Right.
The first thing I did when they were about 3 and 4, I made sure why I could still do it was I picked my wife up, I picked my dog up, had the kids on the table, and I made them all picked up and I carried them around the house.
There you go.
Nothing, but I was dying, you know, my back was sore.
Yeah.
But to them,
you were Superman.
Yeah. And like with Jon, when you see him, like he's a freak. I want you to be like, look at this, you know, bloody stump toe, you know.
Yeah.
I want you to judge the book by its cover, because when you see an innocent character, look at him, only see him as a human or as that dad entity or a protector or whatever he is to another side character. That's how I feel. And I want you to feel what it feels like to be seen like that, because you might not have a kid yet, but I want you to know, and I want you to know that everything you love, that's love, everything, it's all protected with truth, and everything, like, it's like love is the all, it's eternal.
Yes.
The womb, it's the woman, it's the chaos, it's the potential. It's in a moment, like father time, the sword, the judgment. One is tyrannical, truth without love. Love will spoil without truth. It's a balance of those. It's chaos and order. It's Spinoza stuff, but that is what it is. I wanted to sing a truth song, but I had to hide love in it, right? Because it's not a balanced piece of music without it.
Yeah.
So like, I'm getting metaphysical, but
it's good though.
This is how the world works.
It's deep,
like,
man.
It's not even deep, but I think it's just how the world works, right? Like, the blank page is potential. It's chaotic, but then it needs a moment in time, the material thing, and the action, which is all order. You know, it must bring order to that to draw one out of the other. That's how creation happens. Opposites. It's really cool. That's how the world works. So
it is cool.
In my crazy mind.
Speaking of cool, you know, they say never meet your heroes, but have you had an opportunity to let Frank Quietly know how much impact he's had on your work?
Oh yeah, I have. Here's a picture I keep up when he had hair.
And there you go.
I had no idea who this guy was leaning in for this.
Yeah.
Bald guy. That's Grant Morrison.
Yep.
In 2003, I met him for the first time. I hadn't even drawn a whole sequential page. I had some half-started ones, you know? And they announced him randomly at a show that I was at. And I had a copy of JLA Earth 2 I kept in a backpack. And I was like, I'm getting it signed. Back then, there was no cameras on phones. There was a guy behind me that was like, you were really excited to meet that guy. And I snapped it, like, I'm going to snap a picture of you shaking his hand.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like 3 months later, this guy remembered the email and shot me the digital thing. That's back when, like, at 32 megabytes, you could hold like 12, you know?
Yeah.
Battery dies instantly. So I hauled that. You know, I didn't meet him until 2014, like officially. I got to say hi to him at a show. And in 2017, there was a show in Scotland and they were like, we will fly you out. And I wrote him, I said, hey, I'm going to be a terrible person, but I'm not going to say yes to the show unless you let me pop in and say hi to you. He's like, well, come on over. But I don't do it in the normal way. There was a people in a hot tub and I photoshopped my head and his head in there and I seen the picture. So, are we going to hang out or not? You know?
Nice.
I mean, he was just lovely. He is the loveliest dude. And then recently he was in La Jolla, San Diego State University. There's some university, but he's a guest lecturer. They like flew him over and hosted him to be a lecturer in the States.
Oh, wow.
And he let us meet a couple buddies come and hang out for a week or 4 or 5 days. And we morning, noon, and night hung out, talked about family life, art, comics, film, pizza toppings. So he is genuinely the sweetest man ever. I think him and Geof Darrow for me have been really kind with their time and put up with me. I think it helps I don't go away. Like well, this guy still hasn't quit. He's terrible.
Yeah.
Been enough time where you've been the puppy biting at their ankles where they're like, go ahead, like you're not going away, so I might as well be nice to you. But no, he's the sweetest guy, the most thoughtful guy. He's got brilliant ideas that he's writing in notebooks, but he needs to draw. He's brilliant, man. And he's so sweet. His wife is so sweet, AJ, and just lovely people and an incredible artists. So definitely, I don't know if Meet Your Heroes is good or not, but meet Frank quietly.
Sounds like it. Yeah. In his case, it definitely paid off. That's awesome to hear, man. Well, listen, Nick, I've taken up a lot of your time today, but I want to give you the opportunity to, obviously you can't announce what you're working on right now. I think we're probably going to have you back on when that can be announced, though.
Well, yeah, I'll definitely be doing the circuit of some shows.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a couple questions. Like,
oh yeah, that's before we wrap up.
Yeah,
fire away.
BJJ, arm wrestling, drawing. Yeah. You're naturally a competitive type.
Yeah.
How did you get into drawing or BJJ drawing? Was drawing always there?
Drawing came first.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. My earliest childhood memories are my mom drawing for me.
Oh, mine too. That's awesome.
Yeah. And just always kind of being captivated by how she was able to do that and then wanting to learn how to do it myself. And then from there, I got into comics pretty early on. My dad was into comics when he was younger, so he kind of introduced me to comics. That's actually how my dad's the oldest of 8 and basically was kind of like raising his younger siblings, being the oldest of 8. But that's how he taught himself how to read, was through comics. So my dad learned how to read through comics. So he had that love of comics. I started getting comics. I didn't start collecting seriously until I was probably about 16. But I was always like trying to draw and everything. And then maintained that. Like I had some self-published stuff with some buddies and all of that back in the day, like in the 90s. I was the typical 90s Image kid that loved Image and was obsessed with McFarlane and Jim Lee and all those guys. So that was my kind of generation of comics. And always the love of martial arts from a very, very early age was there as well. Like I wanted my parents to allow me to do martial arts. I was begging them to do martial arts and they wouldn't let me. And then I was getting bullied like from first grade because I was always so much bigger than the other kids. So like even in kindergarten, I was getting bullied. The game at recess was how many kids did it take to get me on the ground because I was so much bigger than everybody. And so finally my mom saw me getting beat up one time and then the principal didn't do anything about it. It ended up getting me into homeschooling and all of that. And then Karate Kid came out and had that anti-bullying message, even though I know they kind of turned it around to where like maybe he was a little bit of the bully, which is kind of a funny thing. But that was when they allowed me to get into martial arts. So at the age of 10, so I've been coming up on, 38 years now of martial arts, 30 of which have been dedicated to BJJ.
Did you ever think about doing any MMA stuff? That got so big for so long, still is.
Me personally, I never wanted to do MMA because from the kind of the coaching side of it, I was seeing the effect it was having on the guys. And I just, focused on coaching. But I've cornered guys in the UFC and stuff, which was cool, but I don't really coach. I don't coach MMA people anymore. I just strictly jiu-jitsu people. MMA crowd is a little different. The guys that want to do that are a little different characters and doesn't always bring in the most conducive vibes to the training environment of the academy. So, but yeah, the love of art has always stayed. Like no matter if I was busy or whatever, I still tried to practice drawing and made a concerted effort to never let go of that. My dream was to be a professional comic book artist. That's where I thought my life was going to go. And then it ended up branching to where, I've been teaching. My full-time livelihood has been teaching BJJ for over 2 decades now.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy how things branch.
How did it feel? I'm sure it's very small with arm wrestling, but like your first BJJ tournament that you won, was it awesome? Was it like
it was best? Awesome.
Like, and then how many years leading up to that?
It took a long time, man, because back in the day, in my weight class, there would never be anybody at the tournament for me, especially at the higher ranks. So the majority of my competition didn't happen until after black belt. I got my black belt in 2005. First time I competed was as a black belt was 2006. And that was like, you're going up against all the Brazilian multiple world champions. So you're going against the best of the best in every round. I remember there's a guy named Pedro Sauer who's a very famous jiu-jitsu black belt, and he told me, like, as an American, if you even win a single match, you're doing really good, because he told me how back then they would only send the best of the best from Brazil to those big tournaments.
So
he's like, oh, you actually got a medal? He's like, you're doing really good, man. Like, that guy had to win this many tournaments to be allowed to come to the U.S., But when I won my first world title in 2015, that was a crazy, surreal experience.
That's awesome.
Being able to capture a black belt world championship.
I don't follow the jiu-jitsu guys too much. I know they got the guy that they say with the gray hair. What's his name?
Oh, Gordon Ryan. Yeah.
And then the nerdy guy that eats the pasta.
Mikey Musumeci.
Yeah. Those are the two I know. I started following a little bit. Listening to.
The reason is, that you even know about those guys is because they've at least with Gordon, he's intentionally, he kind of did the Conor McGregor thing, to where you become so much of a caricature of yourself that you start getting people who aren't into the sport start looking at the sport because you're kind of acting like a jackass. That's what Gordon did. He's like portraying this character and getting everybody, getting people who wouldn't normally know about jiu-jitsu to know about jiu-jitsu, which is actually kind of smart, right?
Very smart. And you have like Travis Bagent is my favorite arm wrestler.
Yep.
He's not the best anymore.
He's a character, though.
He's a character. You get a mic in front of him and he is selling. His son is a NFL
football player. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyson Bagent.
Yep.
That dude, if you know his history, when he gets on a mic, he's loudmouth. He's the hill. His history is he didn't have a dad growing up.
Yeah.
When he started having his kids, he's so involved that he got his son to the NFL. He is literally loving his family, fighting for his family. But when he gets up there, he's not saying that. He's saying, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Up and stretch before we start. Now, the band forward. He's like, whoa. I'm over. No, just don't know anything about him.
Yes.
But if you see him off the table, that guy's got a genuine heart. I mean, he might want to charge you $30 for a lesson, but he's got a genuine heart.
Yes, sir.
I love that guy. Devin Larratt playing the hill now. It's almost annoying. It's almost too much, but it's the sell too. Everything's storytelling. I'll leave you on this too for everyone.
Yes.
I can't sell you Ax-Wielder Jon and tell you the story. You won't feel it, but I can tell you why I have to make it. I can tell you how big these pages are. I can tell you that if these failed cartoonists can go be writers because they couldn't draw, what's a guy that can draw when he decides to write can do? I can sell you that. And it's true. I feel that way, but they need to feel the story of why you're making it as much as what that story feels like when you're holding it. And if you sell that hard, it better deliver that hard, but everything is the messaging, you might have a great idea for a character, and I have a couple that's just not marketable, versus a guy with a bunch of axes. I'm going to go with that one. Now, that might not be the one. That one for me was the one. I had some other ones that I wanted to do too, but it just wouldn't translate to like an audience wanting something big, bombastic, manga's taken off. Some of the, some of the crowds, like everything's getting feminized. I'm like, well, I'll give you the most male axe bloody man you've ever seen, you know? And like
that you did.
Yeah. Anyway, so I appreciate you having me on, James. I can't wait to
My
drunk on the
pleasure.
bar and I feel so you post up?
Yes,
You
sir.
Post back and then you float?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. You got me already, but well,
that's what I'm letting the public know.
Oh, okay.
got some other things.
Very smart.
The guy I always end up facing in the finals is a former training partner of Levon from Georgia. Really? Yeah, he's the one that usually beats me. So I've come close. The last time I faced him, he's the one I lost and took silver to last year. So I'm hoping he's there. Hoping he's there again. I hope we face each other in the finals this year.
I love seeing one of my training partners won the Arnolds, and you see these young guys coming up that are nipping at their heels.
Yeah.
You know? They're like 22, 24, 28. I love it because you can do this until you're in your 60s, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like, it's awesome. But then sure enough, my buddy's in his 50s.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the old lion, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's harder to get out. The bones hurt.
Yeah.
This one kid's coming, but he gets that kid every time. And then eventually that kid gets 1 out of 3 and he feels like on top of the world. It just gives you something to
really does.
Engage with the world with drawing or lifting or jujitsu or arm wrestling. It gives you something to sharpen yourself against, you know? And I think that's important.
100%, brother. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with me today. I want to give you an opportunity here at the end. Let everybody know where they should keep track of you online, because we do live in that online social media world. That's usually how people get their information. What's the best place to keep track of you, brother?
I'm doing almost everything through Instagram now. Nick Pitarra, I think at Nick Pitarra, I pay for a blue check. And so, you know, it's me. And I've been trying to keep things positive. I shared some stuff on Frank Quietly, inspirational stuff now. I used to be a little bit of an edgelord, but I'm trying to stay positive now.
There you go.
So
that's easy. Keep track of you on Instagram.
Yeah. And then if you want to check out my art, our better artist than me, Felix Comic Art is the man. He is. He fights for his guys. He changed the game market wise. And he reps just killers. I have to draw with little pens on big paper because he keeps pulling in those young lions that are going to eat the old guys, you know?
Yes, he does.
So
yes, he does.
He pulls in guys that make me pull all-nighters to still have a bite to eat. So
got to keep you on top of your game, man.
Yeah. So Felix Comic Art or Instagram, Nick Pitarra.
Awesome, brother. Well, hang out with me for a moment here. Everybody, if you're listening or watching, you already found the podcast. Greatly appreciate all of you. If you want to give a little extra to the show, you can go over to patreon.com/nerdymusings, become a Patreon. I greatly appreciate all of you. Make sure to keep an eye out for weekly live streams. I do a live stream with my buddy Sam McClurg. He's an awesome underground indie cartoonist. We do a weekly live stream on Tuesdays called the Bristol Bros. We have special guests on there every week. Maybe we'll even be able to get Mr. Nick Pitarra on there sometime, man. That would be cool. I got no friends and nothing else.
Got
nothing better to do, right?
I mean, if I'm in my garage playing with spinner handles, I can't pop in, you know?
All right, everybody. Well, check it out. Make sure you come visit the Bristol Bros Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.